Good morning.
Hi.
Hi. I was thinking about an introduction, and then I looked at some facts. Just in the turn of the century, 2001, 2002, Eskom did a forecast of its energy usage and the demand nationally. And they predicted that in 2007, we would have an energy balance where the supply and demand would reach an equilibrium. Then in January 2008, we all saw the first load shedding that took place. So it was a good prediction. And since then, there's been a number of energy management projects, plans, and programs and strategies that have been rolled out very nicely and successfully. But it wasn't until mid of 2011 when the energy management standard, the international ISO 50001 energy management standard, was released, that organizations started to manage energy in a very sustainable way. So over the next few minutes, I'm going to take us through the overview of ISO SANS 50001. When the standard was released, South Africa was one of the first countries to adopt the standard in its entirety. So in July 2011, we had the ISO SANS 50001 energy management standard. The standard also works very closely with other standards, and I'm going to speak in a future slide on how the standards link together. So the standard itself follows the typical ISO format of the Deming cycle, Plan, Do, Check, Act. But it has two very distinct components. It has a very strong technical component, the one you see on your right, and a strong managerial component, what you see on your left. So on the technical component, you would do the Plan, Do, Check, Act on your technical aspect of energy management. So you'd look at your energy data, you'd analyze where the energy is being used. You'd start implementing energy management projects. You'd do the energy efficient design. You would check, monitor, and verify your performance against your technical targets. So you've got a Plan, Do, Check, Act technical component, but you've also got a very strong managerial component, which allows the company to do its planning around energy. So it generates its policy, it allocates the resources, sets its targets, establishes an energy management team, all of which doesn't really fall under the technical bracket. But that is key to the sustainable energy saving that we're seeing in this country. You've also got the Do, where you train your personnel, you check your performance, you communicate. Thereafter, you do the check of the energy management system. You do internal audits, and then you act. You give a management review, and the cycle is a closed loop. So this is what a lot of strategies and policies in the past have been trying to adopt. And the standard is sort of what I would call the game changer in energy management, because it now allows organizations to do a management and a technical based Plan, Do, Check, Act approach to managing their energy. So how does this link with other ISO standards? Obviously there's various standards for various requirements. You've got the 9,000 for quality, 14,000 for environment. So no one standard can replace the other. ISO 50001 does not replace a standard. But it does very easily and very neatly link in and fit in with other projects, with other standards. And also from the ISO body, I can inform you that the ISO body is developing what is called a high-level structure. So all the standards, their basic format will be exactly the same. So any organization, if they implement one standard, it's easy to simply plug in all the other standards along with it. And as Faith has mentioned, the NCPC interacts a lot with companies and industries. So let's look at how the ENMS implementation actually works. We will look at it through a flow chart. After that, you go into your implementation and operation. And just following the theme from what Faith said, according to the Global Superior Energy Program, GSEP, which also deals with energy management systems, they state that up to 70% of energy savings can come in the implementation and operation through behavioral change. So to give you a practical example in-house in South Africa, we walked the plant of a company in Tshwane that is in the automotive sector, and we met with management. It was just around 12:30. We spoke to them and they said, let's walk the plant, we can show you what we produce here. So we walked the plant and we found there was not a single human occupying the plant. And we asked, what's happening? And he said, no, it's actually lunch break. And we said, great, but we looked at the plant, everything is running flat out. We could feel the heat coming, we could hear the motors running, we could see the entire plant operational, but there's not a single person on the plant. So it's a matter of behavioral change, what Faith said. So we asked them, look guys, there's an immediate opportunity to save energy. If you save a non-critical load at that 1 hour, you'll save a lot of energy. And they said, great, that's a good idea, that's a fantastic idea. I said, you know what? We'll put in sensors, we'll put in timers, we'll put in electronics to control our stuff so that they switch off at lunchtime automatically. And we said, no. If you do an energy management system approach and you promote the understanding of energy, you empower your operators, every person in the organization takes responsibility for energy management, then you don't need to buy sensors, you don't need to buy timers. You train your personnel to switch off equipment at lunch break. And that is what the energy management system brings about. It's a thinking change, it's a paradigm change. After implementation, you would check, are we actually achieving what we set out to achieve? And you can see there's a closed loop here. If you've not achieved, you go back and implement. Once that is done, you do management review, you give feedback to management, how well are we doing against our targets? And then you see there's a closed loop, and then you start all over again. And this is where energy management system is the differentiator. It is not a simple project, it's not like a lighting project, which companies should do, which has a start and end date. It is a continuous process. And at the end, you want to bring this into what is called company culture, where energy management is part of company culture, where everyone takes responsibility for managing energy on the plant. So what you see on the screen is a sample energy management team. An energy management system requires an organization to establish a team. But let's look at who are the members on the energy team. You've got the facilities engineer, the production engineer, environment officer, which is obviously what you would look at. But then you've also got the company accountant and the procurement manager, what do they have to do with energy? They really have a lot to do with energy. Now I'll give you a practical example. We worked with a chemical company in Gauteng, and their energy performance just was not improving. And we were making recommendations that they implement an energy management system, and they started looking at that. And what came out was they had a lot of motors that drove the energy system on the production facility. And whenever a motor failed, they would buy a new one or rewind it, but mostly they would buy a new one. And the stumbling block was the procurement manager. The procurement manager said, we will buy the cheapest. We will buy the most affordable. We don't have a budget to buy a expensive, what do you call, IE4 motor. But the energy management team, once formed, gets the procurement involved, gets finance involved, and they understand life cycle costing. The initial cost of an energy efficient motor is high, yes, definitely, but the payback periods or the energy saving is much greater. So that is where an energy management system is different. And we are seeing sustained savings out of this. In fact, I know companies that have even got the HR involved in the energy team, who would look at the training of their people, who would look at hiring new people who are energy efficient. And you would want to get everyone in the entire value chain of your product, from the raw material supplier down to the retailers and distributors, to be aware of energy. So, ISO 50001 can save money, can save energy, can improve your energy performance in a continual and sustainable way. Let us show you how. Click the IE website and speak to us if you have any questions. Thank you very much.